It's past their bedtime for these two kiddos in Age of Empires 4, but which one has to have their nappy changed and get tucked in while the other one gets to stay up watching 20 minutes more of Bluey? Let's find out as we hop into the deciding game here in the first week of KP's midweek muster. We've got MSN playing on the Byzantines, going up against Dragavan on the Delhi. No clown car shenanigans from either of these two, as Abbasids were banned on both sides. We actually have a full map. Two maps in this series have been quite claustrophobic, quite small, and they've led to quite the memery, but on a map like Cliffside, that memery is a little bit harder to come by. So kind of curious to see how these two are going to approach this. I do think Delhi can do quite well here, actually, especially now with the adjustments where they can play later ages, whereas before they were kind of pigeonholed into this feudal. Now, Delhi with the Dome of Faith build actually provide quite a lot of threat as the game goes on. Byzantines aren't completely disarmed, though. You guys may have been noticing that a lot of civs have been having issues addressing the elephants that Delhi have. I actually think Byzantines is one of the civs that's A-okay. And the reason is that typically with spears, to beat the elephants, you need movement speed. Teardrop shields give you enough movement speed with the drop shield to gap close. Question mark is whether we're going to get that deep into the game. Let me get predictions ready for you guys, because I know you're gambaholics. Wait, did we already put predictions up for this one? Oh, Tune did. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Not used to having someone come and do that. Look at that. Big shout out to Tune. Both saw the predictions and also, of course, busy behind the scenes adminning the tournament. Sorry, are we making an argument that this is going to be an elephant showdown? Okay, now we're huffing the hopium. I don't think this game's going to go that deep. We'll have to see, though. Looking at the spawns, pretty good one actually for MSN to fast castle. Berries on the backside, gold really safe here. Obviously no secondary berries nearby. Dragavan also has reasonable gold, forward tree line, maybe a bit vulnerable if Byzantines go lombos. But we've got an old school approach. Tower of Victory is coming through. I don't mind this. It kind of makes sense, right? I think Dome of Faith can work, but you give Byzantines a really strong attack point in the game. We've seen what happens with Byzantines. They reach 30 units quicker than almost any civ in the game. So like double Lombo with Horsemen, really, really frustrating to deal with. I've even seen Delhi players get absolutely ruined by these like mass Archer, mass Lombo strats, which sound really dumb, but work because of the blob logic. In this game, though, I think MSN is more defensively oriented. We already have the outpost being built up on the berries. Yeah, this is very early. Kind of unnecessarily early. You are going to need this, but getting it this soon, you could have put these resources to better uses, I think. In fairness, it might be MSN worrying that he needs to have arrow slits ready as well, but even if that's on your mind, your opponent is still, like, what? 2 minutes away from reaching a base, right? Because he needs to complete the Tower of Victory, then he needs to put the archer range, then he needs to actually produce the archers. House is going... Wait, did he go for... He's going to go border settlements, right? I don't know why this house is going here, actually. Like, it's going to give you some vision up here, but border settlements got nerfed, right? I think it was the... Was it the research time? It might have been the cost as well. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think border settlements used to be 60 gold, if I'm not mistaken. Because we mapped out before that by the time you build up to 200 pop houses, it would pay for itself in time spent building, saved. It equals out to like the gathering rate, right? But now it's a little bit more crippling. I think it's the cost. Okay, maybe it's only the cost, but like I remember someone got nerfed with it because this used to be the bread and butter every game for Byzantines. Nowadays, Byzantine players just don't bother now in some of these games. I think because you got an outpost here, it's not really that high value. It might be nice to have this house seeing through here. But wasn't it also 8 tower range? Maybe I'm just making that up. I could have sworn once upon a time it was 8 tower range. So yeah, multiple nerfs coming to that little element. It's not the be-all, end-all of what makes Byzantines busted, but it was just another cherry on top for what was already a ridiculous civ. So, Tower of Victory, complete. And yeah, you're right, it might have been wood and gold. I think it was 80 resources and they increased it to 120. I think we've got Lombo Horsemen here, folks. It's pretty good. Lombo Horseman is kind of the bread and butter for most Byzantine players playing the Age, and you know you're going to be up against partial infantry comp at least. It's going to be Ghazi archers on the other side, so we've got a pretty balanced battle between the two. The crux, the tough part for MSN is going to be scaling longbows. Because this is great initially with the Grand Winery, you get a lot of olive oil. But then you have to either transition groves or move out to these other berry bushes far out. That's where Ghazi could become a problem here for the Byzantines. You like Hippo much more versus Delhi? It can work. I think like either or, but I agree that like Hippodrome could be a little bit better. Scout is going to sniff on what's happening here. So your goal here is you want to get around the backside, see the first mercs coming out. Timing is actually pretty good for Dragovan. We're 35 seconds out. We know it's longbows, but remember, he doesn't. For some reason, and by the way, like they just need to do this. Either let me give you feedback, devs. Either put a little flag that pops up off the top of this building, or put a flag in the battleground here that shows the contract type on it. Make it clear, make it obvious. I don't know why in a game that's about countering, we still don't make that info known to a player before units come out, when it's too late to pre-counter. First longbow is now on the way. It's weird, right? Like, I get it. It takes a long time for these to come out, so you'd be able to counter them very early, but at the same time, it's such a stupidly strong surge point. Sure, they have to wait to get these units, and then you have to counter them afterwards, and they're already at like a bulk mass, but at the same time, they're coming out with 5 units. Think about how many buildings you see that like a men-at-arms comes out and gets swarmed. This building spawns 5 units at once. They can fight back immediately. You're already seeing how they just close the gap here. And remember, this is against the efficiency of the Delhi. Actually, funnily enough, Dragovan hasn't utilized that, so no scholars inside the archer range or the stables. Remember, it's just going to be horseman raiding. I like this from MSN. I always say if you're going to build cavalry, use it. Don't sit at home. He's trying to stop his opponent from being the one to make these moves. And behind this, we question marked. We flagged the issue of massing longbows. He's already trying to solve it. This is another reason why horseman longbows are just so nice, because you need so many farms to justify getting more of these longbows. So you end up with a lot of food. What do you really want to spend that food on in Feudal Age? Do you want to spend it on spears? Probably not. Most comps that play long feudal go archers anyway. So you're much better off playing into horsemen. It says 90 oil, but it costs 500. What do you want from me? That's because it's the correct one-to-one calculation of a longbow is worth 90 resources. But the problem is, because of how good longbows are, they had to slightly cripple them in terms of their cost. So yeah, not all units have their one-to-one ratio. Longbows not quite able to get that snipe on the scholar. So good cap there by Dragovan. Love this, the short walls. We talked about cliffside. It's all about these ramps and how you control this, right? So if you get the quick wall up in the center, this is why Delhi have always looked quite good on this map, is you kind of control the ebb and flow of the map. Your opponent would have to go around the flank while you go down the center. So I'm glad that MSN is addressing this now before the archer mass of Delhi gets too big. Looks like Dragovan is going to posture aggressively defend this. MSN is only feigning aggro. Check the resources. He's going castle. Okay, this looks really scary for Dragovan right now. Look at the mass. It's kind of crazy that the numbers are still this close when MSN is holding almost 2,000 resources in reserve. That's absurd. The one negative he's going to impact himself with here is he doesn't have blacksmith, so no steel arrow, no undermesh. It is going to give an opportunity for Dragovan to counterattack here. The crazy part about what MSN has done is typically when you make this move, you lean Limitane because they're better for defending a counterattack. Horsemen are terrible at standing their ground here, so there is a risk that Dragovan sniffs this out and attacks, but for now, the Norwegian isn't moving. The Golden Horn Tower is now in the way. How do you guys vote, by the way? Curious. 43% for Dragovan, 57% for MSN. So pretty tight, pretty close on both sides. It's well smuggled as well. Scout isn't even diving. I think Dragovan's a little bit too passive here. It's almost like he thinks securing Sacred Sites just gets you the win. He's dead wrong, though. This is always a creepy, sneaky play that Byzantines will pull off, right? They'll creep up to the third age. Streltsy are much cheaper than hand cannoneers. Byzantine Streltsies are as expensive hand cannoneers. Yes, and that's reasonable. It's just an extra unit type they're getting, right? tech out complete. Dragoman needs to go. And immediately springs into action here. Archers Ghazi marching forward. How much damage can he get done here, though? The veterancy for the Lombos has already been queued up. He has the Dialecticus, so it's coming in ASAP. Ghazi have arrived here. Archers now diving in as well. Static defenses laid in. Double outpost, in fact. The veterancy about to complete. This might be a little bit too late for Dragoman. He needs to back out. Ay, he's on the clock, right? You could try to save for an age up here, but remember, this is not the newfound Dome of Faith builds. This is old school Tower of Victory, which means he would not be able to upgrade these Archers and Ghazi. He's kind of stuck. If he doesn't play an attack now, if he falls back, MSN just benefits entirely. Now, worker kills were at least found. Dragoman did manage to scalp too. But considering the eco behind this, the opportunity to now get into relics and the quality of the units appearing, Dragovan's in a pretty condemned situation. Lombos, whoa, MSN, that's not an ideal retreat. He didn't want to commit the horseman in. Big mistake made there. These Lombos are worth their weight in gold. You want to protect them. MSN just panicking a little bit there. Yeah, kind of weird. It's almost like he was trying to bait Dragovan under double outpost, but you don't need that at this point. You've got double Cataphract out. You've got veteran Longbos. You should be fighting. Like, funnily enough, guys, he could have even thrown the Cataphracts into the Archer Mass, and maybe the Horsemen leak through, but if the Lombos start stepping away, then it's half the firepower coming your way, right? So, a little bit shaky from MSN here. Dragovan seems to be a much clearer believer in his game strat, whereas MSN's a bit too hesitant. Lombos are going to stand their ground now, but they're not backing up here. Trying to trade out against the Archers. Ghazi are going to ripple onto them. The Cataphracts will remain alive, but everything else for MSN is dying here. There's at least additional Cataphracts coming out. I'm surprised, though, no trample being used. Big mistake. Used it on the others. Forgets to use it on the two that were tanking there. And missed opportunity there. If he had trampled through, he could have body blocked the retreat through the gate. Still, numbers are closer, right? It was 20 to 40 before, now it's 12 to 29. So Dragovan's lead is slipping. But he got good trades, and that's important here, guys. Because this army is going to be nigh on upgradable because he doesn't have Scholar count, he doesn't really want them. So throwing them away to trade against castle units and getting good advantageous fights there is really good for Dragovan. MSN. A big believer in the Cataphracts. A lot of people have been hopping on board with this. It's going to now look to use them on the flank. Wraps around. House of Learning is about to complete, but dude, House of Learning. This is just rough. I mean, in this type of game, this feels brutal, right? Because you just don't have the Scholar count to see an immediate impact from these decks. It's going to take a while, so he's going to need another 3 minutes breathing room here. He could look to pick up some relics, though. In the meantime, Ghazi also going to pinch the backside here. That's what, 4 more worker kills? We're now up to 8 in total. Okay, MSN's slipping again. I think Dragovan's just got a clearer killer instinct in these games. We kind of saw it in game number 2. The MSN took full control. And then there was kind of this weird question mark, right? This is happening again. From using abilities on the Cataphracts to that attack near his olive groves. This little bit of hesitation, this slight hesitation is making the world of difference in this very close matchup. Dragovan starting to take control, right? These Cataphracts heavily injured and becoming a liability. Just a big drain on food in a game where you just keep getting drained of villagers that are working on food. Ghazi raid is coming back again. The outpost timing is going to be atrocious here. If Dragovan sees those villagers, if he dives in right now, that's -4 again. Like, luckily for MSN, Dragovan takes a wider angle here. A little bit distracted elsewhere. Crossbows now getting added in. Did we forget that we have this building? I think we did. Ah, yes. The old school Canadian strategy. Forget Delhi upgrades and still win game. Yeah, Pegasus is pretty good here. Remember, you're up against Lombos, so if you're able to edge out that difference, right, bring it from 2 range down to 1.5, it really does actually matter. These are really good crossbows as well, because something we're not used to seeing recently is this is a Tower of Victory build. So that increased attack speed does affect them as well. Ghazi do finally jump in. Unfortunately, the Dragavan wasn't quicker. Hope he kind of reviews this, because that's like maybe like a little bit of a takeaway from here. Even when you win, you want to find ways to improve. This Ghazi raid should have been coming in much sooner. There was no reason to hold it in reserve. He should have at least been checking with the scout. So we'll get mopped up here by the Varangian guard. Meanwhile, down the center, a dive's coming in. Cataphracts are reaching deep. No spearmen really being committed to by Dragavan here. The veterancy is being queued up, but we are still a minute and a half away. The cannon numbers are starting to look good again for MSN. The military chart is even. If he gets a trample through here, which is now coming off cooldown, this could be big. MSN, does he realize it though? Tramples through, gets behind them, splits the formation. Crossbows are trying to counter him out here, but it's such a chunky unit to get through. In the meantime, the Lombos are able to gap close and start sniping that back line. So this is looking phenomenal right now. Dragavan, a lot of his army is crap he doesn't want, remember. About half of it is still archers. Landstech now arriving, and Dragavan, he looked like he was poised to take the victory here. But MSN is now starving him out in his base. What a turnaround. Unexpected as well, and it's about to get a lot worse. The Landstech! What happened here? Oh my god. Did he get seen? He knows. The Cataphracts are snooping on it. What is going on in this corner? Everyone decided to slap the lube on and go for a pump techno 24-hour disco rave in the jungle. Dragavan's entire economy is on this screen. Cataphract is at least going to get cleared up. And the Lombo wave has been disintegrated, so not the end of Dragavan, but the boogie is about to get real here. Cataphracts are still culling villages. Landstech are at least going to get cleared up before they would find this giant, delicious treat. But what an absurd series this has been. Game 1, Game 2, and now Game 3. Welcome to the circus. So many Varangian here as well. Oh my god, I can't believe that, guys. That was on the edge of my seat. He didn't even have textiles as Delhi, right? So those Landsneck, like 3 swipes and they're all dead. Varangian are now diving in. Crossbow count is at least starting to scale a bit better now, but it's still underwhelming in the face of double the heavy unit comp on the other side. Cataphracts, remember, can easily just get beyond you and body block a retreat in these choke points. So if he just tramples through here, they can't retreat. Looks like he did already use them, but it just doesn't matter still. Dragavan is being overwhelmed. He is being pummeled in his own base. And the problem now is MSN knows exactly where all of his economy is. Berserk gets activated just to wipe the defenders quicker. And I love the way he peels it right. Berserkers go after the non-crossbows. The Cataphract absorbs all the shots so that he doesn't lose his units for using this very risky ability. Absolutely wild game. MSN is just like a dog with a bone, right? He's not going to let go now. Dragavan is holding onto a lot of food. It just looks like he doesn't know what to do with it. Well, lol coming in, just so MSN's like, hey, in case you didn't know, there are relics on this map. You might want to get them. Dragavan just looks kind of hard stuck. I think he needs wood gathering because he needs additional production right now. He was at 1,200 food. He's at least spending it now, but it's coming out of the 4 production buildings here, guys, which means you're immediately going to be hit up by MSN's army. Oh, what a crazy series, though. You know, in hindsight, looking back, where did this really go wrong? I think Dragavan, he was on the verge of being in complete control of this game after MSN slipped with that tech up and then the way he tried to take the initial fight. But this tech choice into House of Learning doesn't really seem to have paid off, right? Doesn't really seem to have gotten him anything. I think maybe Compound Defender would have been better. Then you have an eventual recovery mechanism in building keeps that just doesn't exist now. Crossbows are at least wiping some of the straggler Varangian, but I think he knows now. MSN. What's the noise MSN used to make? I can't remember. With the IM service. Message received, and the message is, get the hell out of my game. Dragavan trying to run away. There's already a Varangian wait for them up here. And at this point, even if they survive, you're talking about, once again, 30-plus villagers just not working, not gathering, not getting you anything in this game. What the hell? Like, wait, I just came... Dude, I was out for a stroll. What are you all doing here? This is like when you play Mountain Blade and you're in your really good armor and you feel great. You're like, wow, I spent 50,000 gold in this. I can't die. But one land stack is all it takes. GG gets called. MSN will continue through to the round of 16. He will also benefit from an immediate invite back for week number 2. Dragavan will have to get grinding on the ladder to get back for the second week of midweek muster.